Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. On today's show, we bring you urgent updates on Sudan's landslide tragedy, Ghana's Chief Justice dismissal, and rising tension ahead of Cameroon's presidential elections. We also cover Burkina Faso's presidential election. We also cover Burkina Faso's controversial anti-LGBTQ+ law, Guinea easy media restriction, and an in-depth report on Zambia's Lungu burial saga with our correspondent Mike Sichula. Plus, in our economic news, we explore Africa travel inequalities and Mauritius top governance ranking. You can watch Africa Good Morning on DStv 285, GOtv 25, oneup2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube.
When the sun sets, the news begins. Welcome to Sunset News, bringing you the latest headlines, in-depth community stories, economic updates, sports highlights, and your daily weather forecast. Join us every weekday from 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. on DStv channel 285 and GOtv channel 25, or stream us online at oneup2.com. Join us on Facebook at Sunset News to stay updated.
Mornings just got better, Namibia. From the latest headlines to the hottest trends, we're bringing you the conversations that matter.
That's right. Bright minds, bold opinions, and a touch of morning magic. This is your daily dose of energy.
So grab a cup and join in on the conversation every weekday morning at 8 o'clock with Smell the Coffee, hosted by Diana Master and Aina Riza Quayo.
Leading our top stories this morning, Sudan landslide tragedy sparks an urgent plea for global aid. An armed group in Western Sudan has appealed for urgent international assistance after a catastrophic landslide buried the entire village of Tarsen in the Jabal Mara region, killing at least 1,000 people. The Sudan Liberation Movement Army, which controls the area, said only one person survived the disaster. Continuous heavy rains have made travel nearly impossible in the nearby villages, hampering rescue efforts and threatening lives. Now, the SLMA urged the United Nations and humanitarian agencies to help retrieve bodies and provide shelter to displaced survivors. Jabal Mara has also been hosting hundreds of fleeing conflict in El Fashir, where famine and fighting between the Sudanese army and the rapid forces continue. Tawila, where many displaced have gathered, is battling a cholera outbreak, worsening the humanitarian crisis. Sudan's rival government have both expressed condolences with RSF authorities, pleading to coordinate aid delivery. Pope Leo also sent prayers to affected families, with annual floodings devastating communities amid a civil war that has uprooted millions. The tragedy highlights Sudan's growing vulnerability and urgent need for coordinated international relief efforts. Moving over to our next story. Ghana's Chief Justice removed amid misuse of funds allegations. Ghana President John Mahama has dismissed Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono following an inquiry that found grounds of stated misbehavior warranting her removal. Suspended since April after multiple petitions, the investigation reviewed 10,000 pages of evidence from 13 witnesses and alleged misuse of public funds during private trips, including allowances for her spouse and daughter. The panel also accused her of sidestepping judicial appointment process by abusing authority in staff transfer. Tokonu, Ghana's third female Chief Justice, denies the allegation, calling them politically motivated. Her removal as both Chief Justice and Supreme Court judge has sparked widespread criticism from legal experts and opposition figures, warning it threatens the judicial independence. Former Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tao Yeboah described the decision as setting a dangerous precedent. Activists argue the unclear definition of stated misbehavior in Ghanaian law leaves room for executive overreach. While Tokonu may challenge her dismissal in court, critics fear public trust in the judiciary could be undermined, sparking calls to review constitutional process governing the removal of top judicial officers. Moving over to our next story. Cameroon's presidential election raises fear for instability. Cameroon faces heightened political uncertainty ahead of its October 12 presidential election, with long-serving President Paul Biya seeking another term after 43 years in power. If elected again, Biya would remain in office until 2032, marking half a century as head of state. Opposition candidates and analysts warn that vote regardless of outcome could deepen the existing ethnic and regional tension, particularly among separatists in the English-speaking region, Boko Haram-affected northern zone, and historically marginalized groups. The exclusion of key opposition figure Maurice Kamto and candidacy of Issa Chimora of a northern politician The exclusion of key opposition figure Maurice Kamto, the candidacy Issa Chiroma, a northern politician, risk escalating unrest if perceived as unfair. Past protests include the violent crackdown on English-speaking lawyers and teachers in 2016 have already fueled armed separatism under the banner of Ambazonia. Analysts also note that Biya's long-standing security strategies failed to curb Boko Haram's regional expansion, raising concerns about renewed insurgencies. A contested result could spark conflict across multiple regions, with fears of a broader national crisis that might stabilize Central Africa if unresolved peacefully. Now, moving over to our next story. Burkina Faso criminalizes homosexuality. Burkina Faso's parliament has passed a sweeping law criminalizing homosexuality, imposing prison sentence of 2 to 5 years for offenders, state broadcaster reports. The amendment to the Family Code was unanimously approved, coming over a year after endorsement by the military-led government of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Justice Minister Endaso Bayala defended the law describing same-sex marriages or relations as bizarre behavior and stressing its alignment with marriage and family views. Right groups have condemned the move, accusing the junta of restricting freedoms and escalating human rights violations following the 2022 coup. Supporters of the law urge it reflects cultural and moral values, portraying homosexuality as important behavior. Burkina Faso now joins over half of African countries enforcing anti-gay legislation, with punishments ranging from imprisonment to death penalty. Neighboring Mali has passed a similar law in 2024, while Uganda and Ghana have also tightened their anti-LGBTQ regulations. International critics warns that law could further isolate Burkina Faso diplomatically, but domestic support remains strong amid rising pan-African sentiments championed by the military government. Moving over to our final story. Guinea eases media restrictions ahead of a referendum. Guinea's ruling junta has reversed a controversial ban on media coverage of political party activities ahead of the country's September 21 constitutional referendum. Initially, the media regulator prohibited reporting on parties facing suspension or dissolutions, triggering a backlash from journalists and opposition groups. The updated directive now permits coverage of all parties provided campaign rules are respected. The upcoming referendum is expected to pave way for a transition to civilian rule after military seized power from President Alpha Condé in 2021. Critics, however, accuse Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya's government of suppressing press freedom and undermining political pluralism ahead of the vote. Last month, authorities suspended 3 leading opposition parties, including Condé's ruling of the Guinea people, for 90 days, blocking participation in political activities. The reversal of the media restriction comes amid growing international pressure on Guinea to ensure transparency and inclusivity in the electoral process. Now, despite the concession, political tension remains high, with opposition groups warning of political unrest if a referendum process is viewed as manipulated or unfair. And now let's have a look at our weather predictions. Ashwan Berry spoke to our AGM correspondent Mike Sichula on Evening Review to unpack the latest developments surrounding the burial of Zambia's late former president Edgar Lungu. The discussion explored emerging details, government positions, and the ongoing tension shaping national sentiments. With emotions running high and political stakes at play, the interview shed light on critical updates, provided viewers with deeper insights into the unfolding saga surrounding Lungu's final resting place. Have a look.
This is the Evening Review with Ashwin Berry. I am currently in conversation with Zambian journalist Mike Sichula, who is in Lusaka, as we get to uncover more of the facts and details and, of course, analyze everything surrounding the burial of Edgar Lungu, Zambia's former president. Now, just now, Mike, you were making the statement that there isn't a legal requisite with regards to making sure that the president is buried at a certain place. Of course, Edgar Lungu would have found a way to maneuver that when he made sure that Kenneth Kaunda was buried in Zambia. But now let's talk about the court case itself in South Africa. The High Court of South Africa essentially said, take the body home.
Yes, that is true. And the Lungu family did not agree with that ruling. According to them, they believe the Pretoria Court did not use the rules or the guidelines in the South African Constitution, but rather relied on the customs that Zambia needs to bury its former president at a designated place. So because of that disagreement with the ruling, it is why after it was passed and the Zambian government through the Attorney General at that decision and said, even if the court has ruled in favor of our position that the remains of our former president should be repatriated to Zambia, we are still going to engage the family. That was Mr. Muliro Kabesha, the Attorney General, to engage the family so that even when the body comes to Zambia, the Lungu family should be part and parcel of the burial of the former president of Zambia, who is their their husband, brother, sister, and father. But that decision was quickly disagreed by the Lungu family, who appealed. So they did an appeal, which before it could gain ground, they again went to the highest court in South Africa, the Constitutional Court, to say we are not in agreement with the decision that was made by the lower court. So now, yesterday, the Constitutional Court of South Africa rejected that appeal to say we cannot attend to this appeal because you have skipped another court, which is the Supreme Court of South Africa. So they rejected it on that premise to say we cannot attend to this matter because you have jumped the Constitutional Court, the Supreme Court of South Africa. So again, the Lungu family's representative, Mr. Makebi Zuru, indicated that they did make any law by skipping the Supreme Court to go to the High Court, because under the South African judiciary, there is that provision. You can skip a court once you put a notice and you indicate the reasons why you want this matter not to pass through the Supreme Court, to go direct to the Constitutional Court. So their argument was that it was a matter of urgency. It needed to be attended to as quickly as possible. But that has been rejected at the Constitutional Court. Simply makes the Lungu family again to go to the Supreme Court of South Africa, a process initiated, and it must be coming up anytime soon. This matter should be coming up anytime soon in the Supreme Court.
All right, Mike. Now, I do understand that Makebi Zulu, after first saying that they weren't in talks with the government, did confirm talks with Minister Kangwa. And I understand that right now negotiations should be back on the table, essentially. However, there's a couple of things that happened. When that High Court ruling was delivered, there was some choice words for Attorney General Kabesha's mother and accusations of witchcraft. Mike, which I believe is what prompted Hakainde Hichilema this week to talk about the combating of witchcraft, because Zambia constitutionally is a Christian nation, and thus that is not tolerable in any shape or form. And of course, Hakainde Hichilema was also alluding to some legality with regards to the burial of a president in Zambia. Do you believe that given their conduct, given the fact that they essentially held the president's body hostage without actually providing evidence of the president having said that things should be done in such a way, is the Lungu family afraid of some form of retribution? However, that's putting aside the fact that Madam Esther Lungu had court cases which have been suspended due to this burial process. She was already supposed to appear in court with regards to some corruption charges, if I'm not mistaken. Do you believe that the Lungu family is potentially trying to make sure that there's no retribution? Because as far as their conduct goes, and we can agree perhaps that there isn't a strict legal basis for a president to be buried, but as far as their conduct goes, I can see a Zambian lawyer being able to make a case for treason.
Yes, this matter has got too many openings that can be exploited by any legal mind if it came, for instance, into the Zambian judiciary. So, yesterday, Mr. Makebi Zulu was speaking to the press, and he did point out the aspect of trust. Trust, he said, is very key if this matter has to be resolved between the out of court. He says there needs to be a trust if the negotiations are going to yield any tangible results. And I wish to make it very clear to our viewers, according to what Mr. Zulu has stated, no discussions have commenced between the Zambian government through Mr. Patrick Kangwa, the Secretary to Cabinet, and the Lungu family. There has just been an attempt to initiate, in the words used by Mr. Makebi Zulu, to initiate discussions. So the terms of engagements under this renewed pursuit to dialogue this matter out of, those have not been detabled. Those have not been detabled. So, but what he has pointed out is that if the renewed dialogue is going to go further, he has pointed out on one keyword to say we need to have trust.
Before we say our goodbye this morning, I've got some great news. Now, ShopRite Namibia is celebrating 35 years with you this September. And to mark this milestone, 35 lucky winners will each walk away with a golden voucher worth 3,500 Namibian dollars in ShopRite vouchers. Now, 7 lucky winners every week for the whole month of September will walk away with a voucher. Now, if you want to be part of this brilliant exercise, all you have to do is scan the QR code that is right on your screen and follow the instruction. Easy as that, and you can stand a chance to win 3,500 Namibian dollars worth of voucher. You can go to ShopRite and get everything that you need. And on that note, we thank you so much for joining us on This Morning Africa. Good morning. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Happy Wednesday, everybody.